So friends, after his first 100 days in office, where does Donald Trump stand on the legal front? Well, he's experiencing a long downhill slide in the courts, and things are likely to get worse for him, not better, as more and more federal judges are stepping up to knock down Trump's lawless acts on our institutions of government and on the American people. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, the Associated Press, the AP, which Donald Trump tried to ban from White House press conferences unlawfully, unconstitutionally, and ultimately unsuccessfully, the AP did a bit of a recap of where Donald Trump stands on the justice front in the courts after his first 100 days in office. Let's start with that new reporting from the Associated Press. Headline, Trump's agenda faces courtroom setbacks as Justice Department lawyers struggle to win over judges. And that article begins, to understand the Justice Department's struggles in representing President Donald Trump's positions in court, look no further than a quick succession of losses last week that dealt a setback to the administration's agenda. In orders spanning different courthouses, judges blocked a White House plan to add a proof of citizenship requirement to the federal voter registration form, ruled the Republican administration violated a settlement agreement by deporting a man to El Salvador, and halted directives that threatened to cut federal funding for public schools with diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. That's on top of arguments in which two judges expressed misgivings to a Justice Department lawyer about the legality of Trump executive orders targeting major law firms and a department lawyer's accidental filing of an internal memo in court questioning the Trump administration's legal strategy to kill Manhattan's congestion toll, a blunder the Transportation Department called legal malpractice. According to an Associated Press tally, Trump executive actions have been partially or fully blocked by the courts around 70 times, while judges have not impeded the president's orders in nearly 50 cases. Dozens of others are pending. The Trump administration's effort to reshape American civil society, including a crackdown on illegal immigration and downsizing of the federal government, is encountering resistance from judges across a broad spectrum of philosophical leanings as lawyers for the Justice Department, in some cases, have strained to answer straightforward questions from judges about the basis or rationale for a particular policy or about the mechanics of its implementation. In at least one instance, a government lawyer who became openly exasperated in court at the lack of information he'd been given from the Trump administration was soon after fired by the Justice Department. Compounding the problem is an ongoing exodus from the Justice Department of experienced career lawyers accustomed to representing the federal government in court. Some of the key arguments in recent weeks have been handled by lawyers newly hired into political rather than career positions at the department. Oh, but friends, not to worry, because Donald Trump's allies, which include his lapdogs, his flunkies, his sycophants, they have a solution to all of this Donald Trump losing in court. My editorial addition, but wait for it. Trump allies want to impeach the judges. Trump administration officials, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, have attributed the losses to what they call activist judges, bent on impeding his agenda. Some White House allies have called for impeaching judges, with advisor Elon Musk describing it as a judicial coup. But that belies the reality that some of the most blistering rebukes of Justice Department arguments have come from conservative judges, like J. Harvey Wilkinson III, an appointee of Republican President Ronald Reagan, who said in an April opinion that the idea the government could not return to the U.S. a man it had deported to El Salvador was, quote, shocking, not only to the judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. And friends, the AP article continues, and I'll put a link to the article in the description of this video. But let's tackle a few takeaways from Trump's 100 days of lawlessness, abuse, and overreach. First of all, Trump and company's answer to this problem, the incessant losing in court, is to impeach the judges. You know, that's like a sports team that can't win when they play by the rules. So their answer? Get rid of the refs, right? The refs, the judges, are deranged, according to Attorney General Pam Bondi. The refs, the judges, are radical left lunatics, according to Donald Trump. Well, friends, so many of the judges who are ruling against Trump day after day, from coast to coast, in courtroom after courtroom, the judges are Republican-appointed judges. One after another, after another, after another, after another. And I could go on, friends. Takeaway number 2. Good lawyers are leaving the Department of Justice. Some of them are opting out, self-selecting, leaving voluntarily because they refuse to do the dirty bidding of the Trump administration and his consigliere at the Department of Justice, Attorney General Pam Bondi. Some are being fired for having the gall to speak the truth in court. The young man who was appearing as a Department of Justice lawyer in the Abrego Garcia case was asked by the presiding judge, Judge Sines, some questions, and he expressed his frustration. He said, "Your Honor, the administration, my superiors at the Department of Justice, are not providing me with adequate information to even answer Your Honor's questions." And because that DOJ lawyer was honest and candid with the court, as every lawyer must be, in accordance with our rules of ethics, because he spoke the truth, he was fired, wrongfully terminated from the Department of Justice. So yes, good lawyers are leaving the Department of Justice one way or another, and crap lawyers are being brought on board. They're being tossed into court, and they're falling flat on their faces. And not only are the lawyers falling flat on their faces, but they're being called to the carpet by the judges before whom they are appearing. Like, again, Judge Sines in the Abrego Garcia case, she actually said that the DOJ lawyers who were appearing before her in that case were providing the court with, quote, falsehoods, and were acting in, quote, willful bad faith. You know what that means? First of all, the American people deserve better, because DOJ lawyers don't represent the interests of a corrupt president. They're supposed to represent the interests of the American people, but they're not. And here is what will happen as a result of judges, and not just Judge Sines, but many judges making similar comments and findings about the bad faith, the lack of candor, the untruthfulness, the falsehoods being presented in court by some of these crap DOJ lawyers. Here's what will happen to them. Those comments and those findings by federal court judges virtually guarantee that each of those DOJ lawyers will be referred to their own bar counsel, whatever state they happen to be barred in, they happen to hold their legal license from. They will be referred to bar counsel for an ethics investigation. And given that the judges have already announced what these lawyers were caught red-handed doing in court, these lawyers are very likely to be sanctioned up to and including being disbarred, kind of going the way of Rudy Giuliani, one of Donald Trump's previous lawyers. And let's be clear, even though these DOJ lawyers are supposed to be representing the interests of the American people, they're not. They're representing the interests of their de facto client, a corrupt president of the United States. And just as Rudy Giuliani was disbarred in both New York and Washington, D.C., that is what awaits these crap DOJ lawyers if they continue down this same path of presenting falsehoods and acting in willful bad faith in federal court. Okay, friends, last takeaway. Forcing good, honest, ethical lawyers out of the Department of Justice and throwing bucketfuls of crap lawyers into the federal courts is like some perverted DOJ Ponzi scheme. Like, if they throw enough crap lawyers into the courts, somehow everyone wins. You know, it's reminiscent of a Ponzi scheme where everyone triples their money, even though that's a mathematical impossibility. Yeah, and in this dirty DOJ Ponzi scheme, what, everybody triples their justice? No, because the judges aren't stupid. And to the federal court judges, including the Republican-appointed judges and even the Trump-appointed judges, justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.